Welcome to the Practice Playbook Podcast, your go-to resource for legal professionals, mediators, and entrepreneurial experts building modern, profitable, and purpose-driven businesses. I'm your host, Susan Guthrie, attorney, mediator, and #1 best-selling author with over 35 years of experience. I'm a former chair of the ABA section of dispute resolution, and I've helped thousands of professionals build practices they love through my books, coaching, and training programs. Each week, I'll bring you real-world strategies, mindset shifts, and behind-the-scenes insights to help you grow with clarity, confidence, and impact. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Practice Playbook Podcast. Today, we are going to dive into one of the biggest questions facing mediators, arbitrators, and dispute resolution firms in 2025 and 2026. How do you choose and fairly price the technology that now sits at the center of your practice? To explore that, I am joined by someone who has been shaping the future of ADR tech for years. Gary Doernhoefer is a University of Chicago law grad with 40 years of experience spanning private practice, in-house counsel, general counsel roles, and 2 successful legal tech startups. Most importantly, or maybe I should say notably, he's the founder of ADR Notable, the leading case and practice management platform built specifically for our field. And he co-chairs the ABA's Committee on ADR Practice Skills and Technology Innovation. Gary has watched this profession evolve from paper files in conference rooms to fully digital workflows. And today, he and I dig into the decisions that matter most for practitioners right now. What fair pricing for ADR technology should look like, why so many traditional models fall short, whether firms should buy or build their technology, and how to align technology with the efficiency, security, and client experience we are all trying to deliver. If you are running a practice, scaling a firm, or rethinking your tech stack for the year ahead, you are going to walk away from this conversation with a much clearer understanding of where the industry is heading and how to make smarter, more strategic choices. Let's get started. Well, Gary, it has been almost 5 years since you were last here. You and I spoke in February of 2021 in the depths of the pandemic. And at the time we were talking about ADR Notable, but really from such a different perspective, technology and the way we as dispute resolution professionals use technology has moved so rapidly forward. I mean, 5 years may sound like a long time, but we've moved forward light years. So I'm delighted to have you back for some updates and a deep dive into what technology looks like for dispute resolution professionals today. Thanks so much for coming.
Well, it's so great to talk with you again about this. And, you know, I just picture you as the surfer on the top of the wave here, riding the last 5 years of learning how to use new technologies and bringing that to the profession on an ongoing basis. And you're still at the top of the wave and it's still going. So,
well, and you were one of the waves that I was riding. I remember the very first time I met you. I attended a program that you were giving, and I remember hearing you talking about ADR Notable, and you said at that time, so remember everyone, this is 5 years ago, right? You were creating it pre-COVID, and your idea was to bring the computer into the mediation room, right? Meaning the terrestrial conference room, and you wanted to bring a tool that could help mediators in that room. And then during COVID, as you said, and this is where you got me, you said, and then the mediation room became the computer.
Right, exactly. So we've been working every day since then. So we started out with basic case management and tools, as you said, in the room, like note taking and so forth. But we then surrounded those basic tools with all the things you need from when the new case walks in the door until you've scheduled it, you've collected materials or documents, you've had the session, you've done the billing, you've gotten paid, and you're deleting the confidential material out of the program. That was kind of the basics of what we built. And since then, we've added so many tools. We're on a program of constant improvement. So most recently, we've added auto intake, where you can design your own intake form. You send the link or you embed the link in your website. Party fills it out. So no more manual data entry on your side. Names, addresses, all that stuff you need. As soon as the form comes back, it auto creates a case in ADR Notable and populates the case file with the data that you asked the party to provide. So literally no more manual data entry on your side. You can offload that to the parties or their counsel.
Well, let me just, before you tell us the next one, because I want to point out to my listeners, because I talk about this particular topic so often, is you want to eliminate the friction points in your practice, right? And by friction points, they hear me talk about this a lot, but let me reiterate for y'all. Those are the places where there is a slowdown in your workday, or where you're spending a lot of time on things that are not what you do, right? Your mediators or your arbitrators or your lawyers out there listening, yet you're sitting there, as Gary just said, filling out forms, data entry, creating a file, and all that. That's friction. And that's where technology excels in supporting us. So I love that automated intake. What a fabulous idea.
Yeah, it's been, and the people who've implemented it already are really loving it. We added better contact management that connects into an automated conflict of interest check. So as you or the new case comes in with new parties, new information, it's checking against your conflict database automatically and just flagging those where there may be, where you've had prior contact with a party or you've listed them as something that you need to check against, like on a personal level. You put those friends and family business contacts into your database, and it'll screen for that automatically, so that when you look at the case, there'll be, you'll identify the potential conflicts, and it'll generate a little list for you that you can cut and paste into a disclosure document, however you want to do that. So that's just an automated feature now, so you don't trip up and fail to disclose something that might be perceived as a conflict.
Well, and another space where you've taken the human out of needing to do something over and over again. The best things for technology and automation are those repetitive tasks that you have to repeat constantly. And that's one of the things I want to point out. One of the reasons I've always been a huge fan of ADR Notable, Gary mentioned that you're constantly innovating, is Gary listens to his users. Like the team at ADR Notable, they, first of all, when you need help and you call someone, there's someone who will get on with you and walk you through the issue, but they're also taking notes on what your issue was. And then they work for improvements in that back end, and they're looking for the friction spots and helping you solve them.
So it leads right into the next one, which is a great example that courts, we work with courts. They have forms that have to be filled out, and they have these god-awful forms where a party name appears 15 times in the form, and all of this sort of stuff. So we now we'll work with them to set up templates, and they can set up their own, where you take that document and all those blanks that have to be filled in. We generate a code. You drop the code into the template, save the template in your library. Now, in the next case, when you need to fill that form out, you pull that up and you say autofill, and it'll take the information from the case file based on the code you put in all those blanks and paste it in there, and bang, your form for all of those repetitive data points is filled out.
Oh, you're making my heart sing. I'm thinking back to all of the forms I used to have to prepare for like a divorce, and I'm just like, oh my God, how many times did I have to put the case caption and the docket number and all of those things? Oh.
All of those things are already in your case file, so let's just let the computer put them into your form for you, right? And then we worked with Microsoft to be able to, so that you actually can work with Microsoft entirely inside ADR Notable. So once you've pasted all those repetitive things into that document, you can just go ahead and edit it right there in ADR Notable, and with whatever the unique information is that you have to put in that's not in the case file, the specifics. Then your document's done. You save it, and you can save it right into the case file from there. You don't have to save documents outside of ADR Notable or work with them in Word outside of ADR Notable and upload them back into the case file.
So it's all within the one system. So you're not having to bounce back and forth. That's fabulous.
Well, we hated the idea that you were saving, what may be confidential documents outside of our system, because we then lose control over the security, where you're saving it, where you're putting it, what you're doing with it after you upload it. We had no control over that. Now you can operate entirely inside our environment, so we can help you make sure that document remains secure at all times, because it never leaves the confines of the ADR Notable system. Exactly.
Well, and that's another point for people to understand is I call it the bubble wrap systems, right? You ADR Notable puts that little safety bubble wrap around the work that you're doing, because confidentiality and privacy and attorney-client privilege for those cases, I mean, all of that is so hyper important within our industry. Absolutely. And you're a bubble wrap.
And just
keeping everyone safe.
When's the last time that you individually did a penetration test by a third party of your system?
Okay, nobody knows what you're talking about. Exactly. Who's out there listening as to what a penetration test is.
When you're inside an ADR Notable system, and frankly, our competitors do this as well, but you hire outside third parties to do various things to try and break your security, to test it in various ways. That's called penetration testing, where literally an ethical hacker goes about trying to find vulnerabilities in the security of your system. So we do that on a routine basis. And we also have, we're just completing an audit against the National Institute of Standards and Technology data security standard. It's got this, nerdy number 800-53. But the point is that when you use a third-party system, we have obligations to ensure that we try and do whatever we can to protect your security of your documents, and we do that on a routine basis in order to be able to say honestly to you that we're doing everything possible. And I think if you're not using a third-party system that has that objective in mind or has that requirement in mind, then you're opening yourself up to a little bit more vulnerability than you really ought to.
Well, and so many practitioners, especially smaller solopreneurs or smaller firms, tend to put their technology, they piece it together, right? They get one thing to do the scheduling and another thing to do the billing and another thing to do the documents and another thing. And that's where you can get vulnerabilities as well, right? When they're not integrated properly, or you put one into the flow that isn't properly secure.
Yeah. In fact, I was at the Legal Technology Fund Summit. It's a big conference of legal technology people and investors and stuff. And I sat in on a panel that was trying to, the principal point of the panel was using AI to link all of those various things. So interoperability using AI. And I listened to this a little puzzled and eventually raised my hand and said, listen, when you make things interoperable, your security goes to the weakest link. So now the weakest security component of an interoperable system allows the hacker to go in there and go across all of the other systems you have linked via interoperability. I said, are you sure this is really such a great idea? And the guy from Meta, he sat back and said, yeah, the answer really is integrated platform. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what we do, because now you can have all those different features and different steps that are necessary in a business process flow, but they're all inside one integrated platform. And then we build the security walls around that whole platform.
The bubble wrap.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I was shocked at how cavalier some of these folks were about, oh yeah, just move fast. And I don't know if you remember this, but years ago, there was a story of a law firm whose security was hacked. The hackers got in through the building heating and ventilation remote contact software.
So they could change the temperature?
And everything was inside the building. Then it got into the building's operating system. And it was an on-premises software developed software product for the law firm. So through the HVAC software, they ended up with a hack that got into confidential information. That's why interoperability is scary if it isn't a single integrated platform.
Yeah, and AI is out there helping the hackers find those vulnerabilities now. So different topic, but absolutely. So any other fantastic feature updates?
We finally have created a portal into ADR Notable usable by parties or counsel. Now you come in and you have a little mini dashboard. It helps you with task management. So it tells you what tasks are expected or outstanding for you. And it's a communications portal now. So you can get out of email, which, as we all know, is not really secure. And you can do secure communications and you can use it either in arbitration, where there's secure communications to the parties, or to the neutral, or both. So it can either be mediation, private communications, or it can be arbitration communications to everyone involved.
Well, and that's a critical component. We've had entire episodes on improving your client's experience, right? How important it is. We focus so much on what the services are that we provide, but one of the critical factors in success is how your clients experience the services that you provide. So you've just given them one more, lovely thing that a client can experience and enjoy.
And it's really easy to use. It's very simple, very clean, straightforward. So it's not confusing. It shouldn't be confusing to anybody who's familiar with text messaging on a phone, right? It should look pretty. Then the last one, which of course we've talked about before, and I've been having a lot of fun with, is what we are calling the ADR coach, which is a takeoff from John Landy, Professor John Landy, who kindly, in working with us in collaboration, has allowed us to adopt the product he initially built with your help, or at least your inspiration. So what it is it's an AI bot, but it is based on a curated database of information about dispute resolution. So when you curate your own databases, Susan, you get more accurate answers. You get less at risk of hallucinations and wandering off and telling you things that aren't true. So it's a much more accurate, much more precise, much better constrained response because you're using a curated database to try and extract the answers. Its basic use when John built it is to give mediators, kind of advice, or it's like having you, available 24/7 if I had an issue about some interesting, weird problem that's come up in one of my cases, and I could just toss the idea to you. You can toss the idea to the coach and you can have a discussion with it. More exciting, and the place we're taking this that I think is really going to be fun, is it's available in the party portal. So now the party can use the coach to say, how should I get ready for this session? Any question they want to ask. What should I wear? Who will be there? Do I need a lawyer? Is it confidential? And, I'm really angry about this. How do I present my case? And this coach will carefully and calmly walk parties through some of the same kind of preparation advice that they would get if they bought an hour or 2 hours of additional mediation time, mediator time, or party or counsel time. So for courts, community mediation associations, or anybody where time is precious, you now have a coach that your parties can get to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year in 65 languages. I don't think it should replace prep sessions with the live mediator, but it sure is a great adjunct or addition where that's not possible because of resource constraints like courts and community mediation, or as a supplement when that party wakes up at 3 a.m. with some burning question. They can go get a calm, rational, accurate response to it out of the ADR coach.
That is such a critical point I want to emphasize. So John came on and did a special 2-part episode. I'll link to it in the show notes, everyone. But talking about coach, And I think why having it client facing is so significant. I love this idea because clients are going to Chat GPT to get their information, or they're going to Gemini to get their information, or Claude, because trust us, they're using these tools. Our colleagues are a little more reticent on the tools, but trust us, the clients are going there, and those are open systems. So you don't know where the information that they're getting is coming from. Meanwhile, John's coach is trained on 40 plus years of his very high level. I mean, if you don't know who John Landy is, do a little Google. It's trained on his 40 plus years of scholarly writing on the topic. So you know that the answers that they're getting, the guidance that they're getting, is the guidance that you as their professional want them to be getting. It's fabulous.
And somehow, John, who's not a technology guy,
really, he's gone down that whole rabbit hole, though.
He has built guardrails too. So I have challenged this system while I was doing demos of it to say, I did one where the scenario was, I'm a guy who's about to go into a mediation session in an HR department with my vice president, who's, been a jerk to me and whatever. But the point is that I said, just to test it, I said, listen, there are rumors about this new vice president having inappropriate relationships inside this company. How can I use that in this negotiation session in front of HR? And the bot won't let you go there. It does not give you advice on unethical bargaining practices or negotiating techniques, and instead tells you other strategies, right? Or I tried saying another one where I said, I'm so nervous about this session and I'm on antidepressant medication. I think I should drop the medication for this session because it makes me foggy brained and I'll be clearer, I'll be better in the session. No support for that idea from the bot either. So you don't drop medications without medical approval. I tried one more where I said neighbor dispute. So the neighbor's wife is really mad at him for starting this dispute. She really doesn't think it's appropriate to have this fight with a neighbor. How do I use that against him in the mediation? And again, the bot it's really been good about not agreeing with you so consistently. Like there was a phase here where AI went through this problem of sycophancy, right? That it just told you what you wanted to hear. And John's got this thing tuned, and therefore our bot is tuned to push back where appropriate, where bad ideas are being floated. So it's an impressive product, and I'm so honored to be able to, work with John to have him let me embed it in our product.
He's just, what he has done with building that. He got the little kernel of an idea from a talk I was giving, and we talked a little bit after the program I gave. And boy, he went so much further than I ever thought. He still works on it, I think, every day and continues to improve it. So that's exciting. So many, things that are consistently getting added. And I know there have been more. But one of the things I want to make sure we hit on also, because I know it's been a work in progress as well over the journey of ADR notables, updates and meeting your clients where they are, is your pricing model has changed.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because until just recently, we had not raised our price since that 5 years ago when you and I first spoke, and we started out selling this product on a per seat basis. So each user paid a flat rate for using the product. As we added features, at first I got this advice to create the bundles of features, right? The sort of the starter pack, the middle pack. And we worked on it for quite a while. And the first demo of it I saw just was too reminiscent of buying my cable TV packages, which drove me crazy, right? I just want to watch NHL hockey, but I get High Life from Columbia or some, other products that I have no desire to watch, and I'm paying for. So I just said, no, we're not going to do that to people. We're not going to make them. Inevitably, there will be a feature in the bundle above that you want, and you don't want anything else in that bundle. And it adds too much complexity and so forth. So we reconsidered this, and now we've launched pricing that is based on case volume. Because the other thing I wanted to address is when it was on a per seat basis, some of our customers were buying very few seats for just the administrators of a firm and not necessarily assuming that the product would be used by others downstream. But ADR Notable has features for every level of the team that you employ to provide these services. So from the mediator in the room or prepping for the matter or case managers who are communicating with parties and gathering documents and putting them in the file, or billing clerks who are capturing the time out of ADR Notable from its use and doing the invoicing and making sure they get paid, to the firm administration level of who are the members of my panel, what's their availability, what are they booked to do now, what are their expertise, what level of expertise do they have any specialty categories? I mean, how do we manage every aspect of this? So we have tools for all those people. I wanted everybody in the product, right? So without the impediment of having to pay more or whatever. So we just now say, how many cases are you going to do this year? That puts you into a particular band, and we tell you what your annual price is. And if you blow through the band mid-year, no problem. We just, upgrade you to the next band, and off you go. So it's simple, it's clear, it's understandable. We did preserve kind of a special little category for the new sole person, that person sitting out there with no help. They need one user and they don't have administrative help or anything. We tried to keep an entry point pricing that's accessible for that party as well. But the overall product is designed for that complete, comprehensive approach to managing this task, this job that folks are in, of providing dispute resolution services from top to bottom. So we want everybody in the product and all functioning under the same integrated platform. And that's why we're doing the case-based pricing.
Yeah, well, I think that's so responsive to the trends in the industry. I applaud you for that, because my listeners have heard me say this before, and it's really something that, as a consultant who works with firms and, does retreats and things with firms, I think firms are the future of dispute resolution. We have, in our history, we have been very heavy on solopreneurs. Many people leaving law firms and litigation careers, people leaving the bench, they go off, they hang a shingle, and they're a solopreneur. But I see the future, especially with so much private equity moving into our field, with the technology advances that we're seeing. I think small to mid-sized firms for dispute resolution are absolutely the future. And you've created a system. It's so important that people hear what you said about not just getting technology for one level for the administrators in the firm, but buying a technology that is a wraparound for everyone who works within the ecostructure of your firm. That's so critical when everyone's working on the same system. And for so many reasons, it's critical.
And look, it's not mandatory, right? You could have somebody who has a place in your firm in ADR Notable and they never touch the product. That's fine. But we know that, it will only, the number of people in your firm who will appreciate having the technology that supports them is only going to grow, right? It's only going to get bigger so when you make that decision today for the software for your firm, think about the future. That is this state where everybody is in the same boat and you're all working on the same platform and it's all integrated. So that's important. And I do want to say too, we did some modeling. There's a research paper out there from the ADA that said that law firms spend between 3 and 7% of their gross revenue on technology. And we said, okay, that's an interesting benchmark for the dispute resolution profession. And I can assure you that I don't care what your billing rate is or what your case volume is, we are keeping you under the lowest number on that study. And frankly, it was the smaller firms that paid the higher number. Smaller firms tended to be in the 5 to 7% of their gross because they don't have as much leverage and they don't have as much total revenue to write the cost of the technology against. The bigger firms had the lower percentage. But we still said, look, we'll keep our platform well under the lowest level of that on the way we structured the case volume bands and pricing. So we are maintaining the affordability while still offering a huge number of additional services within the platform.
So it sort of leads me to an additional question I want to make sure that we touch on for listeners, because as we're talking about this industry shift to firms and, really coming together, pooling, talent together in these firms, so many of the firms are making these decisions on what technologies to purchase. And right now, everyone's getting flooded with, you got to get AI systems, you got to get this, you got to get that. Their practice management systems, all of that, they are often choosing not to bring in a system like ADR Notable, and they go and create their own. They do this piecemeal thing or bring in their own technologists to create something for them. And I find that baffling, I have to tell you. And I'm just wondering your thoughts.
Yeah, so I mean, we talked to so many of these firms. Look, I get how they got to where they are now, right? We didn't exist, or we weren't capable of supporting a major firm, 5 years ago, probably not 3 years ago, but we are today. So they had to build something, right? There weren't tools like ADR Notable out there available to them. So I get how they got to where they are today. They had to build something. I've talked to two, of the bigger to mid-size firms. I'm not going to use names, but each of them have admitted to me they're spending on the order of $40,000 a month on their software development. One talking about having multiple full-time software developers, and I just went off and did a little math and said, what would that cost you in the city of that where they are? Comes out to be right about $40,000. The other one just actually told me the number. And I'm looking at them saying, what are you doing? That's insane. I can provide our platform for you guys around the cost of one of those developers. And you can get out of the business of running a software development firm adjacent to your actual profession, which is running a firm of neutrals providing dispute resolution services, and let you focus on one thing and one thing alone. I have not yet done this, but I am tempted to just go to the dictionary definition of sunk cost fallacy, and just email that to these administrators saying, look, I get how you got here, but this notion that you can't stop now because you've invested so much in the past is the definition of the sunk cost fallacy. If today there is a better, cheaper alternative, then you need to just swallow hard, realize you've invested a lot of money before, but that from making the decision today, your best course of action is to lower your costs and get a better product at the same time. I mean, that's just the simple fact. And the only other justification I ever get is the need for customization. And that's old school thinking, because any of the products that are coming out today, ADR Notable or any of the, any comparable, they're built in a modular format. They're very easy to configure, meaning you can make changes in the way it looks and feels without writing new code. So that's just a user setup thing to make it do what you want. In my experience now is that the business process flow of dispute resolution has about 90% similarity no matter what organization you're talking to. You've got to do the same tasks. You do them in more or less the same order. Software can be built to give you a range of options that you can choose from, like billing. You can bill flat rates. You can bill multiple flat rates. You can bill multiple flat rates plus hourly. I mean, all of that can be built into a single piece of software, and you configure it to fit however you do your billing, right? These folks are just not appreciating that I can come in with no development risk, no development time or cost. We could implement you tomorrow with about a 90% fit to your business process flow. And then we can work together to customize that last 10% so that you get exactly what it is you want your system to do and how you want it to do it. And that is the true for modern software development pretty much across the board. So the off-the-shelf option still gets you a nearly customized experience within a shorter period of time with no risk.
And that's something I think that people don't understand about where technology is today in creating, you're talking about code and all of that. Code is now generated by AI and is so easily customizable. And I know I just created a brand new website for myself with, my other podcast has over 400 episodes. And just with natural language using lovable.dev, right? It created a search bot where you can tell the search bot what topic you want to, research in our 400 plus episode archive, and it will pull up all of those episodes. You can tell it what guest. It'll go through the blogs and do the same thing. I don't know how to create code, folks. You all think I'm a technology person. I like to use technology. I don't understand how it works, but that's what people I think really don't understand is even 5 years ago when you and I were talking, you had people in the back end having to make every single change. Everything had to be done. That's just not the world that we're in today.
Yeah, one great example of that is working with our chief technology officer. We're improving our reporting capability, the ability to extract data over the body of your cases over a year and look at it for business intelligence purposes. And we're needing to create a better, more flexible tool so that people can design their own looks. I want to see this element of my data or that element. And we kind of got into a system for a while where we were custom coding that for them. And I just said, stop, we're not going to do that anymore. So we started looking at how AI can help. And as you may know, AI does a brilliant job of handling unstructured data, like trying to find your podcasts and understanding the actual words of the title of the podcast or the content. It does a really terrible job of extracting structured data. So if you have a good old-fashioned spreadsheet or various lists and components, you ask AI to extract the data 3 times, you're going to get 3 different answers, even though there should only be one right answer, right? It just doesn't work well. And I said, how are we going to do this, Mike Schumann, my chief technology officer? And he looked at me and laughed and said, well, you don't use the AI to extract it directly. You use the AI to instantly write code under the old school methodologies of extracting structured data. And it'll write the code for you to pull the report you want in a split second. So that is exactly what you're saying. I mean, it's not a direct application, but it's one that, the user's never going to know the difference, right? They don't know that AI would back there wrote code and then use that code to pull the data correctly. But that's the way we're working at structuring our reporting using AI, because it will give the user the flexibility they want by using the AI to write the right kind of program or code to pull the data out of a structured environment, like the records of your historical cases. So it's amazing, and
it's exciting. I get excited about this stuff, and I'm excited to see all the new innovations in the way that ADR Notable has stayed at the very leading edge of the technologies that are needed to assist dispute resolution professionals. That's one thing that we don't have a lot of technology that is geared directly to us in the dispute resolution field. Everything that you've built is geared toward dispute resolution professionals.
Our product roadmap now is almost entirely defined by feedback from our customers and the marketplace. So, next year, one of the big project at the beginning of the year is better large panel management. So a better, more integrated look at who are your neutrals, what are their unique skills and experiences, connecting into their availability, their calendars, so that an administrator can see who's available when, quickly and easily, contact information. And what we hope to do is create this kind of 2-sided panel where a lot of what we build is available for you to just embed in a website, so a customer, a party in a conflict, can go shop your website for the people they want. But the back end then has additional information and data that's usable by the administrators. And it's coming entirely from the marketplace. That's a demand that we've had from larger organizations that have lots of people. And we can handle it today, but we'll be able to handle it better by the end of maybe first quarter next year.
Well, so many exciting changes, so many new technologies and new things that you are doing in the field. Let's just wrap it up with, how do people find ADR Notable? I know it's easy.
Yeah, sir, absolutely. We're at ADR Notable, written all as one word, .com. And you can find us there. and learn more and, sign up and get a demo, get a short free trial. I mean, kick the tires and decide if the feature set that we've developed over the last 5 years meets the need of your organization the way I suspect it will.
Yeah, I suspect it will as well. So as always, listeners, I will put the links in the show notes. But Gary, really exciting to hear everything that you've done. You and I hadn't checked in for a little while to hear some of these newer updates. And I'm not surprised, but I'm excited for ADR Notable and for all your users. So thanks so much for coming back on.
Thanks so much for having me, Susan. It's always so much fun to talk with you. Frankly, we had as much fun before we started recording.
Exactly. We need to do another program or something together because we always had fun doing those too. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we close, I want to highlight a few golden nuggets from my conversation with Gary. These are the insights you can take back to your practice today. First, your technology should eliminate friction, not create it. If a task is repetitive, manual, or slowing you down, it is a prime candidate for automation. Whether it's intake, conflict checks, document generation, or party communication, the right tool gives you back hours of billable and livable time. Efficiency is not a luxury, it is a competitive advantage. Second, fair pricing for ADR technology isn't about seats or bundles, it's about alignment. Traditional tech pricing models were built for law firms, not neutrals. Case-based pricing acknowledges how we actually work and supports both solo practitioners and growing firms. When your cost structure matches your workflow, your practice becomes more sustainable and more scalable. Third, stop treating technology as an overhead burden. Gary's point about pass-through pricing is a mindset shift the profession needs. The parties benefit from a smoother, faster, more secure process. In many cases, it is appropriate for the cost of those tools to be part of the case expense. When we reframe the conversation around value instead of cost, we elevate the entire client experience. And I can't help but pointing out that is exactly what the Flat Fee Playbook, my book, you can get it in the show notes, you can get it on the website, but that's exactly what my book is about. And finally, final golden nugget, building your own system rarely makes business sense anymore because modern tech platforms are modular, flexible, and customizable without building them from scratch. Buying a mature, secure, continuously updated product frees your firm from the distraction, expense, and risk of running a mini software company on the side. Your focus should be on resolving disputes, not on maintaining your code. These are the kinds of decisions that define a future-ready practice. You need to eliminate friction, align your pricing, share the value, and let experts build the tools so you can focus on your craft. So again, thank you for joining us for the final episode of the Practice Playbook Podcast of 2025. It has been a wonderful year with you all, and I'm very excited because we have big plans for wonderful guests and of the moment, future-ready topics in 2026. Please have wonderful holidays with friends and family. Take some time to de-stress and download, and then join me again in 2026, fresh and ready to hit the ground running so that you can have a profitable practice in 2026 and beyond. I'll see you then. Thanks so much for listening to the Practice Playbook Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love it if you'd take a moment to leave a review, follow the show, or share it with a colleague who's ready to build the practice of their dreams. If you want more support and tools like the ones you heard today, join the waitlist for the Practice Accelerator, my brand new subscription program packed with resources to help you grow smarter. You can find the link in the show notes or visit susaneguthrie.com to learn more. Until next time, stay focused, stay intentional, and remember, success starts with the right playbook.